Everybody, this is Josh with Turtle and Her Adventures. Today I'm doing a review of the Old Town Salty PDL pedal drive kayak. I picked this up this past winter. These run for $1,899 plus tax depending where you get it. I was definitely torn between Old Town and Hobie. I'm glad I went with the Old Town. There's definitely advantages and disadvantages to either one. But hopefully this review will help somebody make a decision if they're interested in a pedal kayak. This is definitely one worth checking out. So Salty is 12 feet long, which I believe is the only size you can get in the Salty version. So the main thing most people are probably interested in is the pedal drive, especially if you're switching from a kayak that you would paddle. This one's well thought out. There's a handle for carrying the pedal drive around. I don't know the exact weight of the pedal drive, but it has some weight to it. I bet it's somewhere in the 20-pound range, maybe. Mine came with this cap missing. Old Town sent me two more free of charge. I managed to lose another one. I don't know why it keeps falling off, but no big deal. So as you can see, it mounts pretty easily. It's even easier to do when you actually have the kayak on the ground or you're sitting in it. But either way, it's fairly easy to do. It basically has these three latches that are labeled really well for how they lock and unlock. And you do have to line the prop up in the hole. If the prop is horizontal, it's not going to fit, which is not a big deal, especially if you're sitting in it. You just line them up and drop it right through the hole. And then there's a third point where it locks, and you're good to go. So this main locking point is the one you would deal with mostly like if you were getting ready to beach it and come to shore. Obviously, you're going to nail that prop on the ground if you don't pull it up when you're launching or coming into shore, which it's pretty easy. You literally just undo the lock right there, and then you can just kind of pop it right up, and then it's out of the water. Now at this point you do have to paddle it, so you do need to keep a paddle with you pretty much at all times. One thing you really have to keep in mind is the depth of the water you're in, especially if you're used to paddling a kayak where you can get into really shallow water. You have this additional prop on the bottom. I've hit my fair share of logs, rocks. I've run aground quite a few times and going pretty fast. So I've nailed this thing into some logs, and it, other than some scratches and stuff, it has been able to take the abuse. I try to be careful, but sometimes it just happens. So you can see just from the bottom of the hull itself, you got about 12 inches of draw. Plus you can see the scummy water line here. I probably got another 4.5-5 inches there. So at my weight, I'm about 180 pounds. You're talking like 17 inches, give or take. If you do manage to destroy your prop, which I'm sure I will, I've already tangled fishing line in it and had to remove it. It's pretty easy to do. You just remove that locking nut right there, and the prop comes right out. The pedal drive itself also has a dry box built into it, which is really nice. I've been through pretty rough water, and nothing in it has ever gotten wet, so it's perfect for keeping like your fishing license and things like that in there that you don't want to get wet. Probably the best feature about this pedal drive is the instant reverse. You can pretty much creep right up to a dock or anything and just start pedaling backwards right on the fly. You don't have to flip a switch or anything, and you can creep right in. You don't have to worry about smashing into things. It's a really nice feature. Probably my favorite thing about this kayak. Just a quick side note, these style wall hangers are perfect for hanging the pedal drive on a wall. There's two foam pads, make it nice when it gets wet. You don't really have to worry about slipping. Same with the pedals, they're pretty comfortable. They're comfy on your bare feet. Probably the next best thing about this kayak is the seat. The seat is incredibly comfortable. I've been out on this probably 5 or 6 hours at the most so far, and I've had no issues with my back bothering me. There's plenty of ventilation. You can move around easy. It's like total game changer if you're coming from a sit-in kayak. It's fairly easy to install. It looks a little awkward there because I have it up on sawhorses, but when it's down on the ground, it's pretty easy. Just has these little quick releases. So you slide the seat onto the track. There's a track on each side, and it just kind of clips in there, and it adjusts really well. You can see all the little holes for the adjustment. And those clips are actually removable, so I guess if you wanted to, you could just use it like a beach chair if you pull up to a beach somewhere. I've never tried it, but you definitely could. There's straps that are built into the hull that you can strap the chair down with and cinch it just to kind of keep it in tight. I don't ever really do it, but if you're on real rough water, you might want to. And also the seat adjusts really easy. Back and forth, there's 2 straps on the side, so you can just adjust forward and backward however you prefer. There's also storage under the seat, which is really nice. That's usually where I keep like my phone and stuff, or like a Bluetooth speaker. And the mesh runs along the side. It's sewn into the bottom of the seat, so things don't slide out from under it. Now on the back of the kayak, we have the rudder, which is super easy to control. You have a lever on the right side of the seat. You just reach over and flip that lever, and it drops right down. Now normally when you're sitting in the kayak and you have your left hand on the steering controls, it won't fall cockeyed like that. It's just because it's sitting on the sawhorses. It just kind of turned to the side. But you can keep that from happening. And this also draws a fair amount of water. From the water line there, I'm probably about 14 inches into the water. So you got to be mindful of that also. If you hit something, it will just kick up. But it steers super easy. You can see the controls here. They're on the left. Now I'm not sure how its turning radius compares to other kayaks, but seems like it's pretty good to me. But the reality is with that instant reverse, you can kind of back out of any situation. If you're close to a dock or something and you can't make a full turn, you can just back right out. So it's super easy that way. And it takes you like seconds to figure out how to back it up. I mean, it's really easy to kind of steer around stuff. You could definitely parallel park it pretty easily. Another cool feature is on the steering controls, you can actually lock it into place. So if you were trolling or wanted to take your hands off the steering controls for a little while, if you're on open water, you can actually lock the rudder in place so it tracks straight or any direction you want. And this was a pretty windy day. I was out there, and it tracked pretty good considering. So that's a pretty cool feature. The hull design on this model is supposed to handle a little rougher water than the other Sportsman models. This one is a little sleeker. I believe it's 34 inches wide as opposed to 36 that the standard Sportsman is. And this hull design is slightly different. There's also a transducer mount right here for a depth finder or a fish finder. And then there's your hole for the pedal drive. So even with the slightly narrower hull, I was a little worried about the stability standing up, but I've had no issues standing up on it. It's really easy to balance, and I've kind of crawled from front to back of it and had no issues. It's great for fishing. It's a lot easier when you can stand up and see. It's easier for casting and everything, so it works out great for that. Speaking of fishing, this is marketed as a fishing kayak, and it's definitely great for fishing. It has these 2 rod holders in the back, which work out good for trolling or storage. There's one rod holder that faces forward next to the steering control. It's a little awkward to steer because you kind of have to reach your arm around the rod to control it. So I don't use that one very often. But with these 2 side rails, there's plenty of aftermarket ones you can buy. So I bought one of these. I believe that's a Yak Attack makes that one. And that one actually works out great. So between the 2 in the back and that one up front, it's pretty well set up. Now also on the same side, you have a paddle holder. And the paddle basically just straps into that. This works out great. I've never had the paddle shake loose or fall out or anything. It stays completely secure. So I've been through some pretty rough water and never had an issue with that. On the opposite side, you have a little cup holder, which comes in handy. And you have a fair amount of storage. So that's the rear storage. There's at least about 2 feet that's usable by about 20 inches. You could fit a cooler back there pretty easy, or a milk crate for fishing gear. And then it has these little cinches that you can strap everything down, and they're a little easier to work with 2 hands, but they are still really easy to work. And the front, similar, has the same kind of bungees to cinch things down. Then under the seat, you also have some storage. You have this like little locking sealed hatch, which is pretty nice. There's a fair amount of storage under there. Sometimes for transporting, I have an anchor, a life jacket, things like that I keep in there. Things I wouldn't want to blow out when I'm driving. I also keep some spare parts. There's a little pin for the prop that holds a prop in. I was also going to keep a spare prop in there eventually. It also comes with this little tackle box. There's the little pin for the prop I was talking about, and the Allen key. There's scupper holes all throughout the front and back of the kayak. And yeah, they allow the water to freely flow out if any gets in. And then there's also this one here where that universal transducer mount is. You could probably use that if you wanted to run a fish finder or something. You could run wiring maybe down through that one. There's handles on either side for carrying the kayak. There's also one on the front, as well as this drain plug if you got water in the hull. And then there's also a handle on the back. This one's a little awkward for carrying it. If 2 people are carrying it, it kind of throws things off balance because it's not in the center. So that's one complaint about that. So it's a general overview of the kayak itself. There's a few little quirks here and there, but overall I absolutely love this thing. I get out on it as much as I possibly can, and I've worked construction for many years, so I have kind of like an achy back, knees, joints, things like that. And for me personally, the seating position and pedaling a kayak is a lot easier on my body, so I recommend checking them out for that alone. It's a little bit heavy to haul around, but to me it's a small price to pay for all the advantages it does offer. So hopefully that will help you make a decision if you're interested in one of these style kayaks. Again, I highly recommend it. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know what you guys think. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.